I was always the one who walked 5 steps behind my family, not because I had to, but because that's where they placed me. At every family gathering, I was the one no one really saw. My younger sister, Daisy, was the star, always getting the praise for her trophies, her certificates, and her awards. Me? I just clapped from the sidelines, quietly watching as she took the spotlight. I didn't mind at first. I told myself it didn't matter. But the more I was pushed to the background, the more I realized, maybe I had something to offer, too. Maybe I deserved to be seen. You know, it wasn't always so obvious at first, but over time, it became impossible to ignore. Every family dinner, every cousin's wedding, every holiday photo, I was there, but I wasn't really there. It was like I wasn't invited, or if I was just conveniently forgotten. I remember sitting at the dinner table, the laughter and chatter filling the room, and there I was, silent, invisible. Everyone's attention was always on Daisy. She was the golden child, the one whom everyone praised. She'd stand in the center, holding her trophies, her certificates, her medals. She didn't just have one or two, she had a collection, a small army of them, and each one was met with claps, cheers, and admiration. People couldn't get enough of her accomplishments. And then there was I, sitting in the background, clapping for her like a spectator. I'd smile, too, but deep down, I couldn't help but feel this quiet ache. Why wasn't I ever in the spotlight? Why did everyone look right past me? I never really asked those questions aloud. I watched as Daisy became the family's pride and joy, always the one everyone talked about. But I guess I wasn't supposed to want that kind of attention. I was just supposed to stay out of the way. The more I kept quiet and kept clapping for Daisy, the more I felt like I was fading into the background, and no one seemed to even notice. The truth was, I was slowly losing myself in that silence. I was always the quiet one, the girl who never seemed to get noticed, no matter how hard I tried. There was this constant weight on my shoulders, this nagging feeling that I wasn't enough. Daisy, on the other hand, was clever, too clever for her own good. She knew how to get attention, how to get Mom and Dad to see her, to praise her. I guess, for a long time, I just thought I wasn't deserving of that kind of attention. So I let her take it because no one knew the real truth. And I never dared to tell Mom and Dad that these awards and trophies do not belong to Daisy. They were mine. Yeah, that's true. My parents overlooked me for years and praised my sister, until they find the truth. It started small, you know? Daisy would walk into the room with one of my certificates or a trophy I had won, and she'd say, "You don't need to show these to Mom and Dad, you loser." And I would just stand there, quietly, not saying a word. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to rock the boat. Maybe deep down, I believed I didn't deserve those awards anyway. Maybe it would be better for Daisy to get the credit, because she seemed to know how to make everyone proud. And she would take them, my certificates, my trophies, and proudly walk to Mom and Dad, saying they were hers. She was so confident, so sure of herself, I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I just kept quiet. After all, who would believe me? I wasn't the one they were proud of, and I had learned long ago not to challenge the narrative that everyone else had made up about me. At every family gathering, every time the relatives came over, Daisy would have a new award to show off. She'd beam, so proud, and they'd all gather around her, clapping, praising her for her hard work. I never said anything. I never told them it was my work, my effort. I was so used to being overlooked that I didn't even know how to stand up for myself. It became a habit to hide in the background, to be quiet, to let Daisy have the spotlight. It wasn't even a conscious decision at first. It just felt easier to let her have the attention, the validation, than to fight for it. I never tried to reveal the truth because I didn't think anyone would listen. I was just the girl in the background, too underconfident to even speak up for what was rightfully mine. And Daisy, she knew it. She knew she could get away with it. And she did. Until that day. It happened on an ordinary afternoon, something so simple that it didn't seem like it would change everything. Mom had been going through some old papers, cleaning out the drawer that always seemed to gather the clutter of the past. Then, she came across the alumni magazine. She called out to me from the living room, where I was scrolling through my phone. "Hey, Sophia, look at this. It's the alumni magazine from your school," she said, handing it over casually. I didn't think much of it. I'd never expected my name to be in something like that. But when I flipped through the pages half-heartedly, I saw it. My name. Sophia Williams, Student of the Year. I stared at it for a moment, trying to process. The name seemed so out of place. And then it hit me, those weren't just words. Those were my achievements. My photos from the award ceremonies. I had won all of this. Before I could make sense of it, Mom gasped from across the room. Her voice was shaky, her fingers hovering over the page as she read the description aloud. Sophia. State-level winner, Principal's Award, these were all yours. She looked up at me, her face frozen in disbelief. I nodded slowly, barely able to meet her eyes. My heart was pounding. Mom's eyes darted back to the page, reading over the achievements. She flipped through the rest of the magazine, seeing my name pop up again and again, in photos I had long forgotten about. She flipped through page after page, her expression shifting from confusion to shock, to something I couldn't quite understand. And all these awards, they were yours too? Mom asked, her voice breaking. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and guilt. Mom looked back down at the magazine, her hands shaking slightly. I could see the realization hit her. Everything Daisy had shown her, every trophy she proudly presented, every certificate she flaunted, it had been mine. For years, Daisy had stolen everything, and I had let her. But now, it was all laid out, clear as day. Mom's face crumpled as she looked at me. Oh, Sophia. I never knew. I didn't know, sweetheart. I didn't say anything in return. There were no words that could fix the years of neglect, no way to erase the years of living in Daisy's shadow. But at least now, the truth was out there. And maybe, just maybe, it was enough for me to finally be seen. That night, before dinner, I could feel the tension hanging in the air like thick smoke. Mom was quietly making dinner, and guess what? My favorite pasta. She didn't say anything, but I noticed the way her hands moved slower, more carefully, like she was lost in thought. When we sat at the table, no one said much. The clinking of cutlery was louder than usual. Her face was tight with something I couldn't quite put into words, guilt, maybe, or shame. I kept my head down, stirring my food absent-mindedly, pretending not to notice the glances she kept stealing at me. But I noticed. For the first time, she was really looking. Mom didn't wait to finish the dinner, and she pulled the magazine out, the one with my name all over it, and slid it across the table. The moment Dad saw it, he froze. His eyes scanned the page over and over again, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. His hand reached out to touch the page, running over my name like it was some kind of foreign thing. Sophia? Student of the Year? State-level winner? Why didn't you ever tell us about this? Dad's voice was rough, and there was a mixture of confusion and hurt in his eyes. His question was simple, but it felt like it had just shattered something inside me. The words came out before I could stop them. I did tell you, I said quietly. I tried to tell you multiple times. But you never listened. Mom's face turned pale. She had never looked so small, so lost. She reached for my hand. We didn't know, Sophia, she whispered, almost to herself. We didn't know. Dad kept reading the magazine, as if the words on the pages would explain everything. But nothing explained the years of being overlooked. Nothing explained the countless times I was pushed aside, my achievements dismissed. And then, I looked at Daisy sitting beside me. Her face was red from crying. I could see the guilt in her eyes, and the shame weighed heavily on her shoulders. She hadn't said anything to anyone. Not until now. I'm sorry, she choked out, her voice shaking. I didn't know why I did it. I didn't want you to be the one everyone noticed. I didn't want to be invisible. So, I made you invisible instead. Her confession hit me like a slap. She had stolen everything I had worked for, everything I had achieved. But hearing her say it, that was the hardest part. I could see she was genuinely broken, not because of what she had done, but because of the pain it caused her. The jealousy, the insecurity, it had eaten away at her, too. I didn't know what to say. All the years of silence, the years of being overshadowed, came crashing down. It was clear now. My sister had been as invisible as I had, just in a different way. The room fell silent, each of us trapped in our thoughts. It wasn't just about the awards anymore. It was about the years we had spent in the dark, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I'm sorry, Sophia, Daisy whispered, her voice breaking. I was scared. I didn't respond. What could I say? I didn't need an apology. What I needed was to finally be seen. And now, maybe I was. It wasn't dramatic. There were no big speeches, no grand gestures. My parents didn't apologize in front of the whole family or make a big deal out of it. It wasn't their style, and honestly, I didn't expect it. Dad just quietly fixed the old trophy shelf I hadn't touched in years. He cleaned it, rearranged things, and placed the few trophies I had left back in their rightful spots. His silence spoke volumes, more than any words could. I didn't ask for anything more. It was enough to know he noticed now. Mom, too, started making small changes. She began asking me about my projects, about the things I was working on. Not because she had to, but because she genuinely wanted to know. She wasn't distracted by Daisy's shining trophies anymore. She started to see me. Daisy gave back the medals and awards she had taken. But I didn't want them anymore. I didn't need the reminders of a time when I had been invisible. What I wanted now was something else entirely. I wanted love. I wanted acceptance. I wanted to feel like I mattered, not because of the awards or the achievements, but because I was me. The apology wasn't in the form of words. It was in the way my family started to show up for me, in the little things. It was in the effort, in the quiet ways, that they tried to make up for the years I had been overlooked. And that was enough. It was all I needed. Some people steal trophies to feel important, to claim what isn't theirs. But others, like me, just want to be seen. I wasn't asking to be the favorite or to be put on a pedestal. I never needed to be better than anyone else. I just needed to matter. All I wanted was to be noticed for who I was, not for the things I accomplished. And now, after all these years of feeling invisible, I finally do. It's not about the awards anymore, it's about knowing that, at last, I am valued. That's the real victory.